So we're gonna get going now. This is Overture with the Art, so it's an honor to be here with you guys. I'm up on stage, I have the stage here with 4 incredible women who have followed their dreams, have found something that they love to do, and they've made it their work. So I think it's really important to let you guys know that it's possible to find something that you love that doesn't feel like work, but actually make it your work. When I was younger, I was in high school. I just graduated. I was working at Arahovas. Raise your hands. You guys know Arahovas? That was one of my first jobs, the souvlaki place, the souvlaki joint. And I'll never forget the day that my principal showed up and ordered a souvlaki, and she said, "Jen, now that you're graduating, what do you want to do?" I said, "I want to be the next Oprah Winfrey. I want to have my own television show." And she laughed in my face and said, "Good luck." And I thought to myself, wow, my high school principal just pooped on my dreams. How am I going to take that? Well, you know what? I used it as inspiration. I used it as fuel. I didn't let that stop me from following my dreams. And guess what? Now, who has their own television show? I do. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, the point of all of this, guys, is that I want to remind you that there are going to be people out there. There are going to be negative people or people that you look up to who think that they know what's best for you. But you have to remind yourself that you have to stay true to who you are and find that one thing that you love that gives meaning to meaning in your life, something that gives you purpose, and to follow through with it, to explore that, and to find a way to make a living from that. And here are 4 beautiful women inside and out who have followed their dreams, who have found what makes them, what brings love and light into their life, something that they're passionate about, and something that gives them meaning and purpose, and they're doing it. And today, we are going to share that with you. So let's get started. Tamara Brown, the wonderful, she's like a multi-talented, amazing person. She's an actress, she's a singer, she's a dancer. She's done it all. She's done plays, she's done TV shows, she even works with video games. Tamara, can you share a little bit about your story and what you do and why you love what you do and why you're so passionate about it?
Okay, hi guys. So I guess if I was to sum up what I do for a living, is I tell stories. And I find a lot of ways to do that. I use a lot of tools to do that. I'm an actor, I'm a director, I'm a writer. I sing, I dance, I choreograph, I compose. Because what I learned is that if you want to make a living in the fine arts, you end up having to do a lot of things. Because working in the fine arts isn't like, it's very rare that you get to work for a company and get like benefits and stuff like that. So you end up being self-employed, a contract worker. And so, since I'm not trying to be homeless, I'm always working. And I use everything I can to always be working. Because I love making art, and I made a decision that I was going to make a living at it. And look, I think everybody should be creative and do art things. And like, making a living at it isn't for everybody. It's not even necessarily the best choice. If there was anything else I was as good at as this, that I like to do as much as I like telling stories, I swear I would do that. If I loved accounting, you guys, I swear I would do that. Oh my gosh, imagine vacations, it'd be amazing. But I love art, unfortunately, and so it's a lot of hustle. Yeah, so I guess that's all I'll say about that for now. If you have questions, you can ask me about it later. But those are the things I do. But everybody's got to introduce themselves.
Everyone put your hands up for Tamara Brown! Woo! Tamara! So next, we have the beautiful Marie-Ève Gingras. She's a professional dancer. She's done competitions all over. She's been on several television shows like La Voix. And also, she has danced on stage with my favorite, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Woo! And Sean Desmond and Ciara. So I'm sure all of you guys know a little bit about them as well. Can you explain what it's like to be a dancer? And is it something that you've always loved? And what was it like following your dreams?
Hi, everyone. It was something that has been a passion of mine from a really young age. I used to like watch movies or videos, and like I would just like tap on the screen and then just like look at my mom and cry and be like that. But just like any passion, I think it's very hard to maintain. You can go in and out a lot, which is okay. But I did always stick to dancing, and it's a tough industry. It's a tough career, but it's always been so fulfilling. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing,
No
Maria.
problem.
And then do you mind also explaining, you started this company called Scheme, you're co-founder
Yes.
of that, and I love what it's all about. So do you mind sharing with the students what you started?
So my very good friend Steph and I started a company called Scheme. It's basically a retreat / workshop that encourages people to design a life that they love, a creative life. And yes, all of you are creative, no matter how artistic you feel you are. And to just be passionate about your life and get excited and know that you have a lot more options than you think you do.
Thank you, Mary-Eve. Can everyone put their hands together for Mary-Eve and clap? On my right, we have Kristen Falco. She actually graduated from Concordia Journalism, so we have a lot in common. And she started at CTV and then moved her way over to CBC. So she's a news reporter. She was a weather. She did anchors. She did writing. And now she works in the arts and entertainment. So do you mind sharing your story?
Sure. Hi, guys. Does this
Oh,
work?
hello.
It was broken before. I think I rebroke it. Can you hear me? Oh, perfect. Okay. So I was born and raised in the West Island. I went to St. Thomas High School. And as a kid, I was always someone who would drive my parents crazy. I always wanted to know why. So I'd ask why all the time. I'd ask lots of questions, and it drove them nuts. But I figured, what better profession to go into than journalism, because I ask questions all day long. So this is a bit different for me. I'm sort of behind the questions now. I'm normally where you are. I work at CBC now. Now I'm an arts and entertainment reporter, so I get to interview people like these lovely ladies who are up on the stage, and it's a ton of fun. And I'll have, if you have any questions later, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Everyone put your hands together for Kristen. Woo! Okay, so next we have Michaela May. She's not from here. She's from Sweden. No, wait, is it from Sweden?
Scotland.
Scotland.
Sorry.
And she moved her way over to LA and then now to Montreal. So it's a little bit of a change. But she's a singer, she's a songwriter. She's worked with Selena Gomez, which is pretty crazy.
I heard the guys, whoa.
Oh. Can you share a little bit about what you do?
Yes, hi. So I am a songwriter and a recording artist. And just a little bit about my story. So I got my start actually a little bit late. So I did lots of theater and music when I was your age. But my family didn't really want me to pursue the entertainment business. I was like, Dad, I'm going to be a singer. And he's like, no, you're going to be a lawyer. So I went to university. I did all of that. I kept doing music on the side, just perfecting the craft. And when I got out of university, I started doing lots of gigs. I was actually living in London at the time, and I got signed by an independent label, which then went into liquidation. So I got released and everything looked like it was going to go amazingly well, and then the whole company folded. And then I became a songwriter, started writing for people kind of all over the world. So like Selena Gomez, Little Mix. Also did some top line, so melody stuff for some rap artists, R&B. And I thought that was my path. I thought, okay, like I'm not supposed to be the performer. I'm going to be the songwriter behind the scenes. I was completely fine with that because it's about the music and it's about connecting with people. And then I happened to go out to LA, and I'd written a whole bunch of songs that I wanted to pitch to different artists. Ooh, hello. And it just so happened that one of the songs that I had written it really got picked up, and it is played on the radio here. It's called 1954, is on the beat like for the last 6 months. It was played in Australia and the UK, and I have now become the artist. So I guess my story's been, it's an interesting one. I didn't think I was going to get to this place, but just because of the passion and my love for music, you always have to kind of keep that with you, never lose it, because you never really know what can happen. Just keep an open heart and be positive. Because I really don't know why, like, I'm here like giving you guys advice. I feel like I've not done what I want to do. But but any questions you have for me about music, just come and chat to me afterwards.
Thank you, Michaela May. So now that you guys heard a little bit about everyone's stories, I would like to ask you, let's start with you tomorrow round. We'll start with you, and I want to hear a little bit about some of the challenges you had to face while, trying to get your dream.
Right. Okay. So, if you just looking at me, you can tell that my identity intersects with a lot of different things, like in terms of gender and race, and maybe the less obvious things like orientation and stuff like that. And so, as a professional in this industry, I encounter obstacles that are common to all people of my gender, all people of my ethnicity, and so on. And I think that in terms of the obstacles and challenges that I tend to face, it tends to be always around issues of access. Access to opportunities, access to resources in terms of funding for projects that I want to initiate, access to leadership positions and mentorship, to being the one who's behind the camera, the one who's initiating the projects and producing, access to revenue. As a woman, I get paid less. As a woman of color, I get paid less. And I have to hustle really, really, really hard. Being a professional, there are industry standards, scale that I always have access to, but the beyond, it's it's a huge fight, just because of who I am. So those are some of the things that it is what it is. And knowing that stuff impacts the way that I move forward through the industry. I could talk more about that on another question.
Thank you, Tamara.
But yeah,
Thank
it's a thing that happens. Like, you know, Obama was president, but well, now Trump is. Know what I mean? We'll leave it at that.
Mariette?
Struggles, right? I would say, I think the number one thing that I deal with is doubt. From when I was your age, it was like, what are you going to do next? What do you want to do? Who are you? All these different questions, and you're like, I don't know. I was young, and I remember everyone around me just always knew what they wanted to do. It was like, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be this, and I felt so confused that I didn't have this like amazing answer and this amazing plan, and that doubt shifted with time. It became doubt because of the industry I decided to go in was, well, your body's like this, or like you're getting a lot of no's, so then do I doubt myself? Okay, now that I know who I am, is that good enough? So the doubt, the source of the doubt changed a lot. But that's something that has been a big challenge of mine, but thankfully working on it, and it's something that you have to just kind of fine tune all the time, and yeah, just know that it's up to you to fix that and change that.
Thank you for sharing that, because I feel like a lot of us have that problem. We all have that fear of, actually succeeding sometimes, and fear of failure, and to be able to use that fear to drive us to follow our dreams. Sometimes it's probably going to be one of the biggest challenges that we all have to face. Is fear and doubt. So
Totally.
Thank you for sharing that.
And
yeah.
like if you guys can think back to like how old you were when you first asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, could you guys remember how young you were? Are you joking? How are you supposed to know? And that's just like the kind of questions you just keep getting. And if you are not connected to yourself and very sure of yourself and very present with yourself, then you're going to have a lot of trouble with those outside questions, no matter what they are. So.
Thank you, Maria, for sharing. Thank you. Kristen, on to you.
See, it's this microphone.
It's-
oh
it's-
my goodness. Okay.
There you go. Do you want to use my mic?
I'll have to lean into you.
Opa.
We'll just
Feedback.
we'll share. Okay, great. I think my biggest challenge when I got out of journalism school is there are only maybe 36 reporting positions in English in Montreal. So there are many more in French. So if you are perfectly bilingual, then that's a bit easier. I'm bilingual for sure to work, but in terms of being a French reporter, that wouldn't happen. I'm sure I would make mistakes with my verbs and stuff. So I needed to get an English reporting job, so there were hardly any. So to get into the door, I had to do things like I had to work for free for a very long time. My first job was at Team 990 at 5 in the morning, and all I did for 6 months was bring coffee to the DJs. I pretty much got the mail, and I had a degree, and that's what I was doing, because in order to get my foot in the door, I had to be willing to do the jobs that nobody wanted to do. So from there, I got a job at CTV, but it was not the ideal job. I had to start work at 3:45 in the morning, and I was alone in the building. It was me and the janitor, and I worked for this show called Canada AM. So from Montreal, if you see a little scroll, a lot of the sports channels have this. So at the bottom, they'll give you like updates on different games going on. So on the news, they have a little scroll at the bottom. They tell you like what happened at the hockey game last night, what the traffic is, what the weather is. It was just me alone in this building at like 3:45 in the morning typing, okay, the Habs won last night, blah, blah, check. And then it would go at the bottom of the screen. And it really wasn't my, the perfect job, but it was the job that got me in the door. And I said, yeah, I'll do this job, no problem. So I did it for a year and a half. It was tough because I had no sleep. And then I wanted to be a reporter. So then at 9 o'clock, my shift finished. And they said, do you want to stay and be a researcher? And I said, sure. So I'd work from 9 until 6. So every day I'd work from 3:45 till 6. And they didn't pay me any overtime. And I just had to be willing to do it if I wanted to work my way up. So I did it, and it was tough. But then eventually someone was sick one day as a reporter. She had a family emergency. Not glad she had an emergency, but there was no one to do her job. And I was the only one there. And they looked at me and said, but you're just a researcher. You can't be a reporter. But they had no one else. So I filled in, and that's how I got my way in. So I guess my advice is that you may not be willing, or you may not want to be serving coffee. You may not want to be doing an internship where you're not making any money. But the people who are willing to do those so-called crappy jobs are the ones who slowly make their way up. So that's my advice to you.
Thank you. How long, just curious, because we've all, I'm saying we've all been there, but I'm sure maybe you guys haven't yet. But how long do you do that for, though? I mean, how long would you say, when is enough of doing those little jobs, hoping that you may get, because you were very fortunate. Yeah. You got very lucky. So what would you, I guess, say to the students here on, I don't know, when would be enough?
Well, for me, I worked for free for almost a year. Okay. I did that very early morning job for 18 months. And then after that, I finally got a research job at CTV where I was getting paid to do, or, decent pay. Mm-hmm. So that was almost 2 years that I, 2.5 years that I was doing that. I think that if you can try to intern before you get your degree, if you can do internships on the weekend, if you can do internships after school or before, that I think would be better, because then you can get all those crappy jobs out of the way first. Great. And then when you have your degree, you can say, hey, I've already worked at this place. I've already worked at this place too. Even if it was for free, they don't care. They just want to know that you have that experience.
And when you were working for free, were you doing other little jobs on the side to be able to make money, to take care of yourself? Obviously, I mean, sometimes when you guys graduate out of high school, you may not all be able to work for free because you'll have to be paying for rent and stuff.
Yeah, so exactly.
Sometimes do you have to do those other jobs on the side so that you can accomplish your dreams?
Yeah, so I would work at Team 990 in the morning at 5:30 in the morning. I'd work there until about noon, and then I would go to my waitressing job, and I worked at the Body Shop at Fairview. I would do all those other jobs just so I could actually get into the industry, but I was tired because I would work these long days. But you got to do, you were saying, you got to do some things that maybe you don't want to do in order to kind of make your way up. So that's my advice, is don't overlook those jobs that look like you're above them. Mm-hmm. Just think it's like a means to an end.
I like that. Thank you so much for sharing. So that's a big learning lesson. Michaela, take it away.
I think I've experienced all of the same struggles. And I could sit here and talk about, as a woman, we do have to fight a little bit harder. Things are getting better, but it's true. I could talk about the financial struggles in music. I don't know if anybody here is an aspiring musician, producer, songwriter. There's really not a lot of money in it. You may see, people that have sort of made it. They're okay, but they're making their money off of different revenue streams like merchandising, branding, marketing. That's really where the money is, because our music models change so much, right? Everybody streams, downloading, not many people buy music. But so all of those things aside, I would say the thing that I struggle the most with, and it's similar to what you were saying about doubt, is I it took me a little while to believe that I could actually do this and commit to it. So when I was living in London, London's one of the most expensive cities in the world. I was working a corporate job. I had a marketing job, and every night, like talking about doing double jobs, I'd be in the studio every night. There'd be days where I didn't sleep. So I'd be up so late with producers, be writing for other artists that would come in at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had to be at work at 8. So you just have to kind of have that level of commitment until you get to the next level. But I had to be brave about like, okay, am I going to ditch the corporate job and really go for this and become the starving artist? And that's exactly what happened. I packed in the job. I packed in like the comfort of having something financial, and that kind of really solid job. And then that's when everything changed for me. That's where I got my deal. That's where I wrote the best music I'd ever written, because I was living a life of like, how am I actually going to feed myself? And it did get that bad. But it needs to get that bad. Like, it needs to get to a point where, like, how bad do you want it? And if you want it that badly, it will work, because you'll find a way to make it work. And I can tell you right now, I've never, ever been happier. I've never been more fulfilled. I'm so glad I left that job. I worked in software. I mean, it was so boring, I got to tell you. And I walked out that day and I'm like, no, I'm going to be a musician. This is a while ago now. And I've never looked back. So the doubt can plague you, and also managing your headspace. So learning, like, there's ups and downs, and there's more downs than there are ups in the entertainment business. If you can learn to manage your head and just don't know, this is what I want to do. I don't care if you don't think I'm good enough. I don't care if, mom and dad's not happy with the decision. Well, you know what? It's your life. You want to make mom and dad happy, and you will. If you're ultimately happy and passionate about what you do, mom and dad are going to be happy. So, yeah.
I love that, Michaela. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, guys, what inspires you to be the best that you can be? Do you mind sharing a little bit about that, and then also talking about what passion means to you?
Okay. So, what inspires me to be the best that I can be? There are short versions and a long version. I'm going to start with the short version. You deserve better, but this is the short version. The short version, what inspires me to be the best that I can be is, I'm not trying to be homeless. Simple as that. Like, when I decided that I wanted to do art for a living, the reality is, like, it's an industry. And if I want to earn my share of that market, I better be super competitive. Because of all of the obstacles that I explained before, that means that every time I step into the room, every time I step into any audition, anything, I have to make sure that what I'm putting forth is absolutely its strongest, because I never know which door is the one that's going to open. Like, this thing that I like to do, if you're into the arts, this thing that we do, 90% and more, it's mostly rejection. All you ever do is get told no. No. Thanks, no. Nothing personal, but no, we don't want you. And so there's that realization, well, shoot, when they do say yes, and I do get my foot in the door, I'm fitting to bring it. Whenever I get my foot in the door for any gig, any audition is an opportunity to play. I get less opportunities to show up and show out, so when I do get them, I hustle. I'm trying to get that paper. I'm seriously, I didn't come into this to be poor. When I decided this was gonna be my job, I'm not trying to be poor. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous because of, I got to do right by me, but also I'm very aware of the people who've gone before me and opened up doors for me to be able to do what I'm doing now. So I'm trying to run things, be the best that I can be, so I can hold open doors for people who are like me to follow through as well. And also, this is a long answer. Sorry if this is boring, guys. I'll try to.
You're not boring. Don't be sorry.
Also,
don't apologize.
I'm a political person. I'm really rebellious. And my activism is art and stories. I'm no fool. I know that the most powerful way to shape a culture and a society and its politics are the stories that you tell. I love stories. Stories are my favorite thing. It's the shortest distance between two people. And I decided that with the things that I can do, when I create art, I can change minds or have a conversation or learn things or make an exchange. And I like messing up the status quo with that. I really like causing trouble and getting paid for it. And I do things that I like. I get to make art. I get to connect with people who feel and think like me. Maybe nobody wants to hear me preach about, like, you know, pipelines are not useful. Like, let's not kill our house, this planet. And nobody wants to hear me preach. But maybe I could do a can't curse. Sorry, it's a school. Maybe I can do an amazing song, write an amazing show. Do you know what I mean? I can do other things to stir trouble up. And yeah, I want to make trouble, and I'm not trying to starve while I do it. And I'm interested. The reason why I'm interested in that, though, like, I believe that we do better when the more voices that are out there, when there's a plurality of voices, the more of us who are speaking up and are present in our own individual ways, the better and more useful we are as a society. Like, if we all try to be the same, everything that's like mainstream, pushing mainstream, be the same, like, that just makes us really easy to control. And when I look at, like, movies, stories, history, it's all really through one specific lens, and a lot of people's voices and point of views are getting silenced, and I'm not about that life. When you can't hear people's stories, you dehumanize them and you erase them, and then that has an impact on society. I wasn't playing. Like, I decided I'll do arts. I don't want to do politics. I want to make art and mess things up like that. Okay. So that's what motivates me.
Thank you, Tamara.
Why am I applauding myself? What a loser.
No, it's important to be able to applaud yourself. I think
such a
everyone should be
sheeple.
applauding themselves.
What motivates me? Well, first of all, we just went through all our struggles, and I think hearing, like, sitting here as well, like you guys, and hearing it, I was like kind of sinking in my seat. I'm like, whoa, it seems really hard. But just know that, just a little note on that. It's actually really hard to not do what you love. It's actually harder to do what you don't like. And so whatever that is, if you guys want to be a hockey player, a basketball player, an accountant, a scientist, if you want to fly a plane, whatever you want to do, just know that we're talking about arts because that's our calling, but the message is the same for every calling. If you are not doing the thing you are meant to do, it is so much harder. Yep. To go through every day, then I will gladly take all the no's and the 1 in a million yes. Then I will go to that job that drains my soul every day. And I think you guys can tell that with even things like your classes right now. If you have classes you love more than others, you can see how much it impacts how happy you are and all that stuff. But anyways, what motivates me? I would say keeping, like, I would say my tribe. I think it's so important to have friends who are wonderful. It's cute. You guys are like looking at each other right now. And even mentors. So your peers, your mentors, and it's not that they have to be like the best advice givers and you want to like surround yourself with people who's going to be like, you can do it, which you should. But it's also people who kind of lead by example. So you surround yourself with people who are so happy because you want to be happy. People who are successful because you want to be successful. And you just watch them go. And it's kind of in its self-motivation to be your best, to do your best, to not complain, to not judge because they're not doing that and they're happy and they're leading by example. And there is such a difference when I made that shift in my life to let go of people, and I love them and I still talk to them and all of that. It's not, I don't judge those people, but there's a difference between surrounding yourself every day with people who are like so hungry and could you imagine your best friend is like Steve Jobs and Oprah and all these people? Like you'd be like, I can't complain about not having the right shoes today, but you know? Yeah. So anyway, I think tribe is super, super important, and I would say that is like my number one motivation to just keep going. My sister happens to be a dancer, which is like a great for me. She dances for like Beyonce and all these artists. She's on tour with her. Yeah, check her out. She's awesome. But it's great to have that mentor, and if it's not your sibling, then make it happen. Find that person, go hunt them down, and no, okay. Just befriend them and yeah, get them in your life.
I couldn't agree more with Mary Evan. Actually, I want to just touch base on that. Probably one of the hardest things for me is because I'm a huge people pleaser. The hardest thing for me is to let people go. You're going to realize later on in life it's difficult. It's difficult to let go people that you love, people that you've known since grade 7, since elementary school. But the thing is, there will be people that come into your life at certain times, and the best way that I can say this is that there will be people that will drag you down. There will be people that will be very negative. There will be people that you're going to meet that are going to inspire you and bring out the best in you. And it's important to surround yourself with these people. It's so important because it will change your path. It will change your journey. If you are surrounded with like-minded people, with people that push you, with people that make you a better person, it is the most inspiring feeling. And just as I'm saying this, I have goosebumps. And it's difficult. I mean, this year I had to let go a few of my best friends, and it's tough. It's tough to see them all the time at my other friends' house parties. It's difficult. But you know what? Sometimes you have to make hard decisions that aren't going to be easy in life, but to better yourself. And so you're talking about your tribe, and then you're also saying, doing something that you don't want to do is so I'm just going to throw this out there, and then I'm going to pass on to Christine. But I've traveled the world for 3 years and a half. And I was by myself. I traveled to over 30 countries. I jumped on a plane. I led a volunteer trip to Nicaragua, and then I canceled my flight home and I continued traveling. It was the most life-changing experience. But all my friends and family said, "Jen, stop running away. It's time for you to come home. It's time for you to, move out of the house, get married, have children." Why? Because everybody else was doing that. And when you're not doing what everyone else is doing, then it starts to make people feel uncomfortable. So here I am traveling the world, following my dreams with my camera at hand. I'm obsessed with photography and videography, so I'm always, capturing people's stories, and I'm growing from this, and I'm meeting other travelers, and I'm hanging out with locals, and I'm feeling inspired. But then everybody at home was like, "Jen, it is time. Stop running away." And I ended up coming home because that's what everyone thought was best for me. And then when I came home, I realized, okay, this is what a depression feels like. I never knew what depression felt like, but I couldn't get out of bed and I couldn't do anything. And I realized it was because I wasn't doing what I love to do. I wasn't following my path. I wasn't doing what I'm passionate about and what gave purpose to my life. And so I loved what you had to say because I've lived through it. I've been through it. So it's so important, guys, to do what you love to do. And when you don't do it and you do mess up, remind yourself that it's okay. And thank your body, because you may not, maybe for a day or two, you won't be able to get out of bed, or you'll be on Netflix all day and you'll be like, "Why am I wasting my time here?" But maybe it's a wake-up call. It's your body telling you you are not on the right track, and it's time to get back on track so you can do what you love to do. And that's important. Thank you.
Yes. Find a job that makes you want to go on a rant like that.
I don't think I could follow that.
Sorry. I know you can.
Sorry, the question again was what
inspires you to be the best that you can be, and what passion means to you?
I think probably two things. I guess first, as a reporter, there are lots of stations, not lots, that's not true. I just told you how there are not many, but in Montreal, there's CTV, there's Global, you can tune into wherever you want. So if people are going to tune into CBC, that I feel like I have a duty to do the best job that I can with the story that I'm assigned. I feel like I need to give them, the correct information, balanced information, so that if they are listening to me for 30 seconds while they're cooking, or if they're just in their car and they're listening to their radio, if they're going to take the time to listen to what I have to say, then it should be worth their while. So that I should be giving them information that they can use in their own lives. That could be about their family, that could be about their health. So I feel like if I have an audience, whether it's one person or whether it's 30,000 people, I have a right to do what I can to provide them with the best information possible while they're listening to what I have to say.
Yeah, you're making a difference.
So I feel like it's a privilege to have this platform that I have every day, and I have to remind myself of that and make sure that that motivates me to really do the best job that I can from morning to night. So I think that's maybe the first thing. And the second thing is, I couldn't have said this 3 years ago, but I have a little girl at home. She's almost 2. So I feel like now, as a new mom, I feel like I want to be a role model to my daughter. So I feel like when I go to work, I want to show her that I'm not just a mom, but I'm also someone with a career. I want to be someone who she looks up to, and I can show her that I can be a mom, but I can also go to work, I can also have a career, I can do both of those things, and I can still be there for her. So I want to be someone who she looks up to. You know, she's too little right now to understand. She sees me on the television and she doesn't really care because she has no idea why mom's in a box. But, you know, when she's older, I want her to actually say, you know what, I want to work hard and I want to be like my mom, hopefully, and like her dad, of course. But I'd like to be a role model for her.
And you are, and I'm sure for a lot of people out there. So thank you for dedicating your life to making a difference. Michaela.
What inspires me? So I think firstly, people that inspire me, like I look to my other fellow artists. So I'm inspired listening to all of the ladies here, and I'm sure if we get questions from you, I'll be inspired from what you ask and what you do with your life. So I really, as a songwriter first, I like to listen to what like people's life stories. I get inspiration from people daily. So I love hearing, like, so for example, Bruno Mars's new album's just come out. I spent probably 3 hours like listening to his interviews on how he wrote the song. He spent 2 years in the studio. Like, I'm inspired by people that make great art and are authentic. And Bruno Mars is being authentic to who he is at the moment. He's putting out records that don't sound like stuff that's on the radio. So I'm really inspired by that. I'm inspired by other artists that don't play ball, like what you were saying. Like, I love people that rebel a little bit because it's about authenticity, and only you know who you are and who you want to be, and no one else is like you. So I get inspiration for people that are themselves, and whatever that is, whoever you want to be, whoever the person you are, like that's what I get inspiration from. And what motivates me, like we get one shot at life, right? You're here, and at every stage of your life, just grab it. Like whatever it is that you love to do. Like I was given a talent to write songs and connect with people. And if I feel like if I'm not doing the best thing that I can do daily, I'm not working on my vocals, I'm not learning new instruments, I'm not doing the best I can do, I feel like I'm kicking life in the face a little bit. When you've been given something and you've all got something and you got to figure out what that is. I didn't figure out what I had until I was 21. Just so you know, like I was not someone that was performing at 6 and like coming out of the womb singing. That's not how it happened for me. So I was 21 by the time I figured it out. But when you know like your purpose and what you want to do, go for that. Because you've been given something, don't waste it. And that's what motivates me. Like I got one shot at life, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it hard. So.
Yeah. Have you guys ever been told that your dreams were too big or too far-fetched? And like, what did you do? What did you do when someone shot you down like my principal did when I just graduated high school?
What did I write? Okay, well, the answer is all the time. Yeah. All the time. People are all the time telling me, well, no, but you would be better as a maid or as a single mother or playing a hooker, another sex worker. Those things are great. What do you mean? Why do you want to play a teacher or a lawyer or a king or a queen? You know, all the time they're telling me the things I can't do. But like I said before, I'm rebellious and petty. And if you tell me I can't, I kind of want to flip my middle finger to you and push anyways and do it, because winning is the best answer, is the best clap back. Like, if you tell me I can't, you can watch me as I did it. I mean, they're going to tell you no all the time. All the time they're going to tell you no. All the time. You got to learn, I guess I'm learning to get comfortable with being really uncomfortable. And don't flicking tell me what I can't do. I'll decide what I can do and what I can't. I don't know. I mean, people are always going to talk. You just have to decide, like when you decide, what is it? What do you want? Who are you? What do you want? And then nobody can tell you who you are. I am going to be me. I'm going to do this thing. And if you tell me I can't get in this way, then I'll start my own thing. I'll write. I'll produce. You don't want to... I'm done asking permission. I'm done asking for help and handouts. I just do. You talk about your tribe. I got sick of being cast as always a maid, a sex worker, a single mother. Started a theater company with people. We were like, bun this is ludicrous. We'll do it. So we did. And then we did. And then that's what we did. You know, like I get tired of getting shut out from leadership positions, you know, as an artistic director. So I teamed up with a bunch of amazing chicks and we do great work together. You know, like this is the quickest, shortest story, and then I'm done. So I was recently nominated for an award for a production that I was a part of, and it was during the break, and I was waiting in line to go to the bathroom. And you know how it is, like you go to a club or you go to anywhere, like in this venue, there's like a huge lineup for the women, and ain't nobody for the guys, right? And I'm standing in line, really patiently, this long lineup during the break, knowing my award is gonna get presented, and I'm waiting, and then my agent runs up to me and she's like, Tamara, they're gonna present the award. What do you do? Like, what's the holdup? I'm like, I'm waiting to the bathroom. And she's like, why don't you go there? I'm like, well, it's the men's. And she's like, so you're gonna let that little white man tell you you can't pee? You have an award to go get. Stop asking permission. Go and go get yours. And I was like, yeah, I think I will. So you'll tell me no. So you can say no, I guess.
When another door closes, another door opens.
You can say no.
The
Do
bathroom.
what I gotta do.
Thanks, Tamara.
Cheers.
Mariette?
Why am I applauding myself? What a loser.
No, it's important to be able to applaud yourself. I
Well,
think
what?
that's
Like,
why
they're not gonna
people
pay my
applaud
rent.
themselves.
I'm trying to pay my rent.
Tamara, you already got a fan base. Come
Moral
on.
of the story is I got my award on time. I was on stage on time to get my award, yes. And I did pee.
Ah, that was good. That was really good. Sorry, can you repeat the question?
So,
I'm just like, I want to go right now. And I
has
don't
anyone
even
ever
know.
told you that your dreams
Oh.
were too far-fetched, that you
Yeah.
couldn't
Yeah,
achieve
yeah.
your dreams, and how did you handle that?
Definitely. I think that that's going to happen to all of you here, no matter what you decide to do. And it's like kind of viewed as a negative thing. And I think it sounds counterintuitive to think it's actually not negative. And because people usually tell you no because they project their own beliefs and their own fears onto you. And half the time those fears are because they love you and they think they know. And it's not because they are like hoping to prove you wrong. They just really care, or they have their own beliefs growing up, or
Scared of change. If you change, it's scary.
sure, and whatever belief they have, they're projecting it onto you, and they 90% of the time mean well. They're not trying to see you, like trying to convince you out of something that you really want to do just for the fun of it. And if you start remembering that when someone's telling you, then you have two choices. You can, either if you remember that, you can just say, okay, well, that's their opinion and that's okay, or you can use it to fuel you and say, well, you know what, I'm gonna prove them wrong. And not even in a negative way, like I'm gonna prove them wrong. It's like I'm gonna prove them wrong, and maybe that'll inspire them to be like, oh my gosh, I told her she could not do that and she did. So okay, well, what could I do, And so that's kind of how I see it, and it still happens. It'll always happen with your career, with who you're dating, who's friends with whom, and all that stuff. It just never ends. But just remember that it's just their opinions and they don't mean harm, and don't worry about it.
Beautifully said. Thank you, Maria. Thank you. How about yourself, Kristen?
Yeah, for sure. When I told you guys I was working at CTV to start off, so that was my first job. I worked there for 3 years, but I was always the backfill reporter. So I was the reporter who got to work when someone was sick, or someone called in, they were assigned to something else. So I never had a job as a reporter. I was there every day, but I was usually researching, and then I would get to report only when there was a space to fill. So I got tired. I wanted a job. I'd been there for 3 years. I knew I could do it. And, I kept talking to my bosses, trying to find a way to get that job. And the boss that I had at CTV, he said, Kristen, your voice is really high. So I think that this is really not the field for you. I know you have a degree. I know you've been working here for a couple years, but I think you should go into something else. I think you should go into PR, go get a marketing job, do something else. And I thought, wow, okay. And instead of being sad, I thought, you know what? This is my boss. So I'm not going to be able to get any farther here. This guy, for whatever reason, doesn't want to promote me, doesn't want me to have a job here. So I quit. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to prove to him that I can do this and that I can work on my voice. I did voice training and I did a whole bunch of stuff to make my voice lower, which is what he wanted. So that was a challenge. But then I went, and 6 months later, I got a job at CBC. It was a fill-in to start, but I was a weather girl for 6 months. But I remember all my friends at CTV, all the reporters who were there, who had my back, who I'd made friends with over the years. The day that I did my first weathercast, the whole newsroom apparently stood up and they were clapping.
Wow.
And my boss was just shaking his head.
Wow.
Because I proved to him,
Yeah.
you know what? If you don't want me, someone else
And
will.
I bet you didn't even need those voice lessons because
Wow.
your voice, I'm sure, was just as beautiful.
Thank you. Anyway, so just to say, like you were saying, like you all said, when someone tells you no, use it as ammunition
Yeah.
to prove to them, you know what? You say no, I'm going to show you that I can do it. So no matter what it is. I think
Use it
that's
as fuel.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Michaela?
I won't repeat what's been said, but I mean, we're all in the same boat, right? Like you're gonna hear it regardless. So just know that this is gonna happen to you. Maybe it's already happened. Use it as fuel, as ammunition. But what I would say is that when people tell you no, nobody knows what you have inside of you but you. Like not your mom, not your dad, not your brother, not anyone. Nobody knows what is inside of you, so no one can actually tell you whether you can or can't do something. So just always remember when somebody says no, just like respect their opinion. You have to respect people's opinion. We can say whatever we want. You respect it, you listen. Doesn't mean you have to agree with it. So just know that nobody can tell you what you're going to do but you. You are the only one that knows what you have inside of you, your talents, what you want, what inspires you. And you need to be the one to make that decision. I mean, I've been told no so many times. Like, I auditioned so many times. I've heard no more than anyone should ever heard in their lifetime. And I'm sure, we've all had the same thing. But I knew what I could do. And I'm the only independent pop artist at commercial radio without a label. And it hasn't been done. And they told me that there was no way I'd be able to do anything because I didn't sign with a label because I want to do it independently. And they told me it wasn't possible, and it is possible on the radio now. And, like anyone that tells you no, like the best, you just prove everybody wrong by just doing it yourself. You just stay humble and you work hard. And then all of a sudden those people that say no, like I've had people get in touch with me now, wanting to work with me after they had dismissed me like a gazillion times because they heard my song on the radio. And then when that happens, when you succeed, be gracious about it and always be very nice. But you can walk away in your mind being like, I told you so. So like you'll all know, like you know exactly what to do. Just keep it inside of you because nobody knows what you can do but you.
Thank you, Michaela. So before we take it on to you guys, where we're gonna ask you where you guys can ask us questions or whatever you guys want to share with us, I would just you guys are graduating soon, right? Are you guys grade 10 or grade 11? Grade 10. Okay, so you have one more year and then you're graduating. So
That was a good year.
That was a good year. So, look, after graduating, we've learned a lot, right? And I was just wondering if there was any final teachings that you would like to share with the millennials, or the guys that are about to graduate now. What words of advice would you like to share with them that you wish that when you were about to graduate, someone told you about the workforce or after graduation going out in real life and having your bubble pop?
I can answer this question. Sorry, I was
Shoot, go
waiting
Tom.
till you. Okay. Okay. So the first thing that I would say is what I wish I had been told about this industry because I studied performance. I wish they'd have told me that it is a business. And I wish somebody would have explained that I have rights and obligations and responsibilities and resources that are available to me. The idea of that once I step out, that I am my own boss, that I'm the one who has to hustle this corporation. It doesn't matter how good I am. I'm good. I'm really good. But nobody's ever been waiting to just give me an opportunity. That's never been a thing that's happened. So I wish I'd have been told that I would have to be the hustler, that I would have to drive. The other thing I wish I had been told when I was still in school, was about how to get my money right. You guys, you gotta get your money right. You gotta get your money right. I don't know what you have to do, like, to put some, like, to have contingency plan. Like, if you're gonna go into like being a self-employed person, get your money right. Make sure you know how to cover your taxes and stuff like that. Make sure you have savings for emergencies. Make sure you have money aside to travel. You gotta travel. You gotta get out of your comfort zone. Like, I mean, there's a lot about surrounding yourself with like-minded people, but I would actually say break out of your comfort zone. Go places you don't know. Go places you're not comfortable. Meet people you're not comfortable with. The more you keep pushing and breaking, like while you're young is the time to travel. You'll get your wealth and accumulate stuff later, but like have your money cushion and travel before you do anything else. Before you settle in on I'm gonna do this career or do that or whatever, figure out how you open and expand your mind and how you can think creatively to find solutions. The more you're used to, the more you get comfortable with meeting different people and being in situations you're not at ease in, the more you find a way to always get through whatever your hustle has gotta be, whatever you've gotta handle. You don't get intimidated by new situations. Somebody should have really told me that. Somebody really should have told me that. And somebody should have told me that, yes, you volunteer like for your industry that you want to be in, be a part of that community, do the free stuff, the internships. Yes, do all of that, but also know what you're worth and never let anybody tell you who you are. If I'm not about to do degrading stereotypical stuff, then I guess I'll go hungry. Then I guess I'll have butter with my rice instead of vegetable and meat, and I'll figure it out until the next week. Like I'll figure it out and I'll sell clothes and save up until I make my own thing. Get your money right, guys. That's your freedom. First, get your money right.
Know your worth, but also it's important to know. So yes, when you're talking about money, I do think it's important, but at the same time, not everything is about money. You also want to have fun with what you're doing and make your play your work, right? And then money
it's
will
what
follow
liberates
when
you to do it,
Yeah.
right? It's what's going to free you up to do what you need to do. Not everything is money, and like there's a lot of ways to do things like bartering and exchange, but get your money right. That's your freedom. Get your independence first. Watch out for that debt. Watch out. Watch out. Because that'll stop you from doing what you want to do, yeah?
And you may have to do other things on the side so that you can do what you love to do. Mariette? Thanks, Samara.
Cheers.
Yeah, good job. The things that I would want to tell my high school self, and I guess tell you guys, is that it's really all inside. I was like queen of Victimville. It was always like when I have the right amount of time, or like they could do it, but like they had all this, and like, well, and it was always so outside of me, and it was always so like, well, things are, anyways, queen of Victimville over here. And when I realized that it's actually coming from within, and then the rest will follow, and the rest will be figure-outable, which is not a word, but so I got really big on rituals. Like, who here journals? Does anyone journal?
It's important,
you.
guys. You should start writing.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank
yes,
you. Yeah, we got hands. We got more hands. Any more hands in the journal? Yeah, they're going once, twice.
Amazing. I think it's really important to do that, guys, because you start realizing a lot. There's a lot of clues in how you feel. Your feelings are your compass. And so if you're excited about something, if you feel down about something, I would just really write or do what you have to do to connect with yourself, because that's where it stems from. And from there, you have choices. You can choose what you want to talk about. You can choose what you want to do. What are you and your friends talking about? What are you guys planning? How are you planning it? Does it make you feel good? Does it align with who you are? And if you start from there and you feel good about it, everything in the outside will just be like so much more exciting, and you'll feel so much more alive and be happier.
Yes, Maria, thank you. I think an important thing here now from just hearing what Maria had to say is that sometimes we're so much in our head. So it's nice to write down your thoughts, because then you can all of a sudden start looking at your feelings more objectively. You can all of a sudden become an outsider looking in, and it's a great feeling to be able to explore that and grow from that.
And that's for the fellas too, by the way.
Yeah, especially. Okay. I'm just kidding, not especially. Equal. Thanks, Maria.
Advice. I think it's okay not to know what you want to do. Like, I'm sure there are lots of you, or maybe some of you, that have no idea what you want to do when you're done grade 11, no idea what program you want to go into for CEGEP. I always, I guess, sort of thought I wanted to be a reporter, but, my parents thought it would be safer for me to go into sciences, so I did. So I went into CJEP, I went into John Abbott, I got a science deck, and then I graduated, and I'm like, oh, I can't do chemistry ever again. I don't want to do this ever again. And I said, I want to be a reporter. So I applied to all these journalism schools, and they said, no, you can't write. You can do math, and you can do science, and you can do biology. You have a science certificate from Abbott. We're not going to let you into our journalism school. So I got no's across the board. So I had to go back into John Abbott. So I went back into John Abbott to take some writing courses so I could prove to them, okay, I know that I have a science background, but I don't want to do science anymore. So then I went back into Abbott after leaving. So that was tough. For one semester, I did only writing courses, and then I reapplied the next semester, and then I got in.
That's dedication.
So all this to say is, even if you go into right now, if you're like, oh, I want to be a scientist, and then you start that and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't want to be a scientist anymore. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay not to know. You were saying that, it was only when you were 21 that you figured out what you wanted to do. For me, it was only after I graduated from John Abbott. It's okay, you can change your mind. And then even if you're 30 and you're 40 and you're like, I don't want to do this job anymore that I've been doing for 20 years, you can totally switch. It's fine. Just do what really makes you happy. I know a lot of us want to make our parents happy.
Yeah.
And it's important to respect them and respect what they want for us, because they just want the best for us. But I think you got to do what makes you happy. That's really what's most important. So
Thank you. That was so beautiful. Thank you.
Right.
Mikhail?
I totally agree with what you were saying. I mean, I was going to say that I wish I had been told that you don't have to please everybody else. I went to university because my parents didn't really want me to be in music. I'd always wanted to do it, and I did it in school. But, they were like, no, you can't be in that. You're not going to make any money. And it comes from love. Like, your parents just want you to be happy and do well. So I got my degree. And then I got a master's degree while I was still trying to figure everything out. And I'm like, I really, really just want to do music. It's all I want to do. All I care about. Like, I didn't care really about anything else. And that's when I made that decision. So I was 21 years old, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And I wish at your age, because I'd always had that passion inside of me, and you've all got something, whether you know it now or some of you maybe already know what you want to do, and if you don't, that's okay. But just listen to it and just know, like, it's your life. You have to be happy. And I listened to too many people, to be honest with you. I listened to people like my friends and my family being like, no, you're not going to make any money. You're never going to make it. Who makes it in music, right? All valid points. But I wish that somebody had told me when I was your age to listen to your heart, listen to what you really want to do. And if you don't know what that is yet, that's totally fine. But when it hits you, and it will hit you like a ton of bricks, you're just going to be like, oh my God, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. Do it. Just do it, because if you don't, you don't want to be in a situation where you're 50 and you're sitting there, however your life's panned out, and you regret it. That's how I live I don't regret anything. And don't move through your life regretting your decisions. You'll make decisions at the right time, but if you feel something so strongly, you have to just go do it. Go do it. And it doesn't matter if you upset a few people along the way. Tamara's already talked about rebelling. You know what, like, the most successful people are the risk takers and the brave ones. So if you want to be successful, be brave and take the risks.
Yeah.
You're going to feel scared anyway, so you might as well go.
I
right?
had goosebumps.
Audre Lorde says that. Like there's this we have to do the questions and move on, eh? Okay.
Thank you, Michaela. I had goosebumps throughout your speech. Thank you, guys. So we're going to bring it on to you. You guys are our teachers as well, so we want to hear some questions or some stories, anything that you would like to share with us and your fellow classmates. So don't be shy. If you guys have any questions, over here in the front. Hold on one sec. We're going to bring the mic over to you. If you could just state your name and then your question or whatever.
I'm Alexis.
Hi, Alexis.
What was like the first thing you saw or heard about that like inspired you to get where you are now? Or like oh, I want to do that when I'm older? To me or to everyone? Do you want to start, Samara?
I'm still thinking.
A Mary-Kate and Ashley movie. I'm sorry that that's the answer, but it is. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
I can answer. I went to a concert. I don't know. I grew up in the UK, so it was a band called Take That. It was a boy band, and I saw them perform. And when they left the stage, I started to cry. I was like 7, and I was like just beside myself. And my mother was like, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, I wanted to be up there so badly. Like that's my first memory of like just falling in love with music and wanting to be a performer.
Sure.
You gotta go.
Yeah, you
Keep
can go.
going. Keep going. I'm trying to think what inspired me to want to do this.
Is your question before we started? It could be while we were doing what we do. Either or.
That first feeling of like being connected to.
Yeah. For me, I think it was probably while I was already doing the job. So I always wanted to tell people stories. Like I always want to tell people something that is important to them that can touch somebody, even if it's one person watching, listening. And just getting to meet new people every day. And I remember I did this one story, and we didn't talk about like what our, I feel like I'm living my dream, but if I could do a dream job more than what I'm doing, I would love to be a health reporter. I was telling you guys about this before. And there's a reason for that. It's because the health stories I've done, everyone, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything, right? So I feel like health stories are so important because anyone can benefit from them. And I remember the day that I realized that I love what I do is I got to do a story with this 3-year-old little girl. She came from Newfoundland. She was at the Shriners Hospital, and she had spina bifida. She had never walked a day in her life. This is a happy story, guys. Never walked a day in her life, and her parents came to Montreal because we have the most groundbreaking research here and surgeons, and they had this new surgery they did on this little girl, and I got to see her the second day she walked in her life.
Wow.
It was insane. So the first day she walked, of course, her parents and the doctors and everyone saw her, but the second day they invited the media to meet her and talk about this great surgery we have in this city. And I got to meet this little girl, and I couldn't believe that I have this job where I get to witness this amazing thing. This little girl, now she can walk. She's fine. And I got to do an interview with her, and I asked her, I said, "You get to walk now. Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do when you grow up?" And she said, "I want to be a pilot, obviously. Wow. I want to fly my parents to Disney World, of course." And it was honestly a day this was like 10 years ago, but it's a day that I will never forget. And that was the day that I'm like, I am so privileged to have this job. This is the best job in the world because I get to meet people like this little girl and like this family. Mm-hmm. And I should, appreciate that all the time. So that's probably for me. Yeah.
Does anyone have any more questions? Like we have time for maybe one more question. So does anyone have one question? We have a professor in the back. We want to hear your question.
Yes. Give us a good one. Yeah.
I really heard you when you said it. And the moment this invitation came out, I jumped on it right away because as who I am, male, white, middle class, education background, I wanted all my students to be here to hear what's being said here because I thought it was really important. And I want to tell you something about this group of people right here that I've come to know, and they've shown me. This group of people here, this generation of youth, more than any other generation I've worked with before, they get different doesn't equal bad. They get that. Different doesn't equal bad. Like, because it's different than me, it's not a bad thing. They get that, this generation. I'd really love to hear from you. What would you, or how could this generation tap into some of the, you talked about barriers. Mm-hmm. How can they help break that down?
Good question.
Okay.
Tamara.
So part of it ties into what I was saying before about like keeping your channel open. It ties into, I do have an answer for you, and it ties into this. There's this, Martha Graham is like the mother of modern dance, and there's this quote that she has when she was talking to another artist about saying to her basically that there's a life force, a quickening, an energy in you that's unique to the whole world. Nobody else has it. And if you stifle it, it's going to be lost, and the world will not have it. And it's not your business to judge like how good it is or how it compares to other expressions. All you got to do is keep the thing that is you open and moving and paying attention to what motivates you and keep that channel open. And I think that the more, like, part of it is that what I like about stories and getting to know other people, if you're able to connect to other people and listen to where they're coming from without putting yourself at the center of their story, without getting like defensive or making their story about you, but just to hear and to relate where they're coming from, that's a huge thing. Like, I'm gonna say to my racialized peeps, self-care matters. Look after yourself. Don't take on the burdens that aren't yours. It's not your job to educate. It's not your job to educate white people about what your reality is. That's been done and has happened since the abolition. Like, all of that answers is out there. For you, if you're white, what I would say to you is this. Nobody blames you for the state of the way things are. You didn't do it. You're not responsible. You've been given a legacy, and gifts have been handed down to you, and you have to decide what you're going to do with that. You have to decide if you're going to be a person who holds place for others, who gives room for others to speak. Well, you're going to have to decide what you do with your privilege. It's going to cost you. You're going to have to give up things. Like, you have to put yourself in the line of fire and be willing to be treated like marginalized people are. It's going to cost you money. You're going to have to give up your own opportunities because you're given more unfairly than, and it's just, it is what it is. Nobody blames you. Nobody's mad at you. It's just that you have to decide what you're going to do with that. So when you hear stuff that's like whacked out, you're the best person to address it. Like, if white people are going on about how Muslims are this and they're that, like, I can roll up and be like, yeah, well, you know what? My sister-in-law and my brother, they're Muslim, blah, blah, blah. They don't want to hear it from me. They might want to hear it from their family member or somebody that's close to them and looks like them. So that's the heavy lifting for you guys.
Very
If that's what it is.
So,
I just want to add to your question about how they can break down barriers and just like what's going on in America. I think that your generation, you have access to the most information you've ever had. Different is great. You're embracing your differences. You guys are really privileged in the fact that you're growing up right now with all of this access. I would say that a way to break down the barriers is just to listen. I think it's very important to respect other people and to listen, regardless of whether you agree or disagree. I think there's a lot of disrespect, specifically on the internet, that because you're hiding behind this anonymous username, that it's just okay to say whatever the heck you want to say. And you'd never say that to a person. And I think, unfortunately, the US is experiencing this huge separation of ideas. None of them are talking to each other to understand each other and respect it. You don't have to agree. So I think one of the biggest ways to break down barriers is just to listen to people and their struggles, white, black, Asian. I mean, honestly, like, at this rate, we all know we come from different places and different colors. It's just embrace another human the way you would and just be very respectful and just try and be nice. I mean, there's so much stuff on the social media that I gotta tell you, it's saddening. I get it. So I receive some stuff and I don't understand why people think it's okay to say these things. It's not. Remember that, other people, everyone is human, right? We all have got emotions, and I think it's just very, very important to break down the barriers, just to be respectful of others and listen to their story. And regardless if you don't agree with their political views, that's okay. You can learn from that. Why did you vote for Donald Trump? I was in an Uber with a Muslim man who's American and voted for Trump. And I wanted to understand, from my own knowledge, I was very surprised by that. And I got to understand his point of view. Did I agree with it? No. But I listened, and I didn't tell him he was wrong, and I didn't shout, and I didn't tell him, oh my God, you're so stupid, why would you do that? Because it's disrespectful. That's what he believes. So I think your generation, you've got access to so much, and you're so lucky, and your future is so bright. Embrace it, but just be respectful. Just listen to others.
and with that being said, thank you for listening to us, guys. Thank you to the wonderful panelists. You guys were very inspirational, not only to me, but also for the students. And thank you to Aquila with Overture for the Arts. Thank you so much. I just want to close this off really quickly because I know you guys have your next class to go to. But one. Go as long as you want. Okay. I know you guys love us, but okay. Just one more thing I just want to say real quick. We'll let the bell pass, but when you are born, you are all given a gift, okay? Your gift is to live your life to its fullest. Everybody has at least one thing that they're freaking awesome at, okay? And it's your duty to share that with the world, okay? And you're doing a disservice to yourself. You're doing a disservice to society, to everyone around you, to the people who love you, to the people who don't know you. You are doing a disservice if you don't follow your dreams. So with everything that we've said today, one thing that I hope as the moderator, I hope the most, is that you guys find something that you love to do, something that gives passion and purpose in your life. Go do it. Go follow your dreams. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. But the best things that are the hardest to do are the most rewarding. So good luck. I'm excited for you guys. You guys are going to change the world. Good luck. Now get to class, kids.